Good morning. I'm so glad to be back with you today. I took some time away to address some health issues, but now I'm back on top of it and we're together again. Today, I want to talk to you about who's teaching your children. Let me share a little incident that I had with a 15-year-old who came to talk with me and said that he was really afraid. And I said, "What are you afraid of?" And he said, "Well, there's so many things happening today and I don't understand them, and nobody will talk to me about it." And I said, "Well, what are you referring to?" And he said, "For instance, what does a government shutdown mean? I don't know what that means, but it really is scary to me. But when I ask my parents, they don't want to talk about it. They say it has to do with politics and they're not interested. Or I like to talk to my teachers, but the teachers really don't have time because they're teaching their subject, and if it's not their subject, they just don't have time for it. The only people I can talk to are my friends, and we're all talking about it. But what does a 15-year-old know?" And I thought, oh. So I explained what the government shutdown meant, and that was the end of our conversation. But it did make me think, who is teaching our children? And I have said in previous um, videos that parents are the primary teachers. We're either teaching because we purposely have information we want our children to know, or we're not giving the information, which is also teaching them. But we need to be aware that there are people out there whose mission in life is to teach our children. And some of the things they're teaching are not really safe for our kids. Not only that, but they're very destructive. And some of the things our children are learning are coming from very ignorant people or people who are purposely lying to them. So I want to kind of change some directions here and move to the point where we can look and see why that is happening and what can parents do about it. Another thing I want to remind you is that in a previous session, I think it was the Not So Terrible Twos, I said that a 2-year-old and a 15-year-old are very similar. They are at a place where they think they are adults and they know so much and they have great ideas, but they also are very vulnerable because, as we know, they're learning to be an adult and they're not adults yet. And we still need to see their vulnerability and the child's side of them. I was thinking about how is it that parents don't want to talk about politics? Why is it that parents don't want to talk about religion? Today, our world, as you know, is in a critical place. It's not the first time we've been here, but we are at a place where we need to be awake and pay attention. We need to pay attention to who's teaching our children and what they're teaching. One of the things that is happening is our language is being distorted in ways that we hear people using words that at one time were real positive words that we describe the kind of people we want to be. But now some of those words have turned into insults. I want to address that. And at the end of this video, I'm going to give a list of resources that you can find on YouTube that I have found to be very astute, very easy to understand, but also very educational. I think you will find them all interesting. But let's look at some of these words, and I'm going to pick the one that's the most popular that we hear all the time, and it's just become a laughable word, and that's the word enlightenment. Enlightenment has always been a word that describes how we become aware of new things, of new processes, of new ideas, of new conditions. It's how we learn. To be enlightened is to wake up, to be awakened. You know, we even see that in the Christian Bible, where we're asked to be born again. That's another one of those words that has come to mean something pretty ridiculous. But the word awakening and enlightenment has changed to be the word woke. And I understand, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the word woke came from a black rapper. And it meant and means enlightenment or awakening or getting smart. But now it's become a political jibe, an insult, an accusation. Other words that we have that we see, there was a popular evangelical person, Christian nationalist person who was going to college campuses and talking about politics and the connection between politics and Christianity. And some of the words, some of the things that were said are not what we want our children to know. One of the things that has been said on college campuses is that the word compassion leads to weakness. Empathy leads to weakness. And the word empathy, according to this speaker, is a new age word that's being thrown around. That's an ignorant statement. And ignorance means you just don't know the truth. Doesn't mean you can't fix it. It just means you're not saying what's true. The word empath and empathy has been here since the Greeks. It's two parts to the word that we want to know. And the first one is important to me as a psychologist, or the second part of the word is pathos. And pathos means suffering. Pathos means experience. Pathos means emotion. The prefix em means to enter into. When you embody something, you take it into yourself. When we embellish something, we take something and then we make it our own. We make it beautiful, or we add to it to make it better. We embellish it. So when you look at the word empathy, empathos, it means to recognize and embody the suffering of another person. It's a very interesting word. It's a very old word, certainly older than the English language as we know it, but it also is not something that makes us weak. In fact, if you're going to say this from a Christian standpoint, and I'm not saying Christian nationalist, I'm saying Christian, the teachings of Jesus Christ are only about empathy. You can't understand the teachings, any Christian teachings, any teaching from Jesus, you cannot understand unless you embrace the word empathy. Another word that I think is important for us to learn is the word socio. Socio has to do with society. So anything like socialism has to do with society. Sociopath has to do with the suffering of society. So we hear the word sociopath, and what it means is that a sociopath is someone whose primary purpose and goal in life is to make society suffer. That's a really scary word. Maybe we don't use that one enough because there's so much that has come into our society that is sociopathic, making people suffer. I want our children to know these words because words like socioeconomic, the economics of the society, to use a word like social does not mean that you're a communist. It means that you care about society. Our children need to have social awareness. They need to have social manners that will help them move into society in a way that they can be leaders and they can be good people. I really want us to understand one of the reasons I think that our children are not being taught the way we think they are, because I think the parents today were cheated in their education. Somewhere in the last 30 years, our public education system, as well as our private education system, have been compromised. I can see the difference because from when I went to school in the 50s and 60s to where my great-grandchildren are today, it's very, very different. The learning environment is very different. I noticed this in the 70s when my children were in grade school. And I was a substitute teacher. So not only did I go to their schools, but I went to other schools. And I was amazed at the way children talk to teachers, the way teachers are treated, the way some children run the classroom, the way so much just terrible behavior is tolerated. It's really gotten critical today. And I think we need to understand that you cannot learn in that environment. I remember when I was doing youth ministry and the teenagers who were seniors were worried about graduating because they couldn't pass their government class or their civics class, as it was called. So many people think that once you finish school, whether you drop out or you graduate, that your education is over. And it isn't. Smart people are constantly learning. We don't think we know everything, so we're always open to learning new things. Today, people who are educated or education itself is under attack. Universities are struggling. Education isn't affordable. We really need to turn things around, and we can't unless we ourselves are educated. So I really hope that we can find a way with all of us to bring our children together in the family and have times when we actually learn and teach. Pick a topic. You know, some of these resources I'm going to give you, watch a video together, have a discussion, learn with your children so that you can talk about these serious issues because they're very, very important. Don't let your children be educated with podcasts, especially those that you have not listened to and you have not approved. I would hope that you can add to my conversation and that you will add your comments and your suggestions and maybe some things you've tried or some things you've learned or things that you're teaching your children. I know I watch YouTube a lot, and I watch it on television. It's hard to make a comment, and it's hard to do a like if you're watching it with your TV, unless you maybe pair your phone. Now, maybe you can talk to your TV. Mine, I can't. But if you pair your phone to YouTube, you can make comments. And I really need your comments to make this channel work. Please subscribe and like, and I'll see you again soon.